Now all these substances which are present in an environment needs a proper implementation of time and technology so that we can make them a useful resource. So if we say that how a substance actually becomes a resource, so by the proper use of time and technology which acts as a carrier of the substance, it makes it a useful resource. By combination of time and technology, a substance becomes a resource. For example, water, air, all these things are present in its natural form. But by the use of technology, we can generate hydroelectric power, wind energy, etc. Some more examples can be like discovery of fire. Previously, it was not known properly. Slowly with time, first people used it for cooking, and later on with technology it is used widely in industrial and food processing sector. Second one is invention of wheel. Previously people didn't knew its value. Now it's a mode of transportation, as you can see in the figure also, for roadways, railways, airways. With the invention of wheel, the human has made it as a very useful asset. Next comes is water, that is generation of electricity. You all must have heard about the hydroelectric power plant. By the running water falling on the turbine, we can generate electricity, as you can see in the figure also. So, with proper use and implementation of time and technology, any substance can be into a useful resource. Now, we can say that with combination of time and proper implementation of technology, any substance adds value as a resource. Also, we come to a conclusion that a resource, apart from the implementation of time and technology, should have the following criteria, as you can see in the diagram. First, it should satisfy a need, it should be developed and used, it should be accessible to humans, it should have economic and social value, it should be cheap within the pockets, and it should match up with the new technology. Now, let's understand these points one by one. The very first point, satisfy a need. For example, like clothes we wear are made of cotton, wood, silk, etc., which is a resource. Table, chair is made of wood, it is a resource. That means what? They are satisfying a need. The second one, that is resources should be properly developed. For example, we have water as a resource, but by using technology we generate tidal power. We have wind as a resource. By using windmill we generate electricity. That means resources should be properly developed. Third one, accessible to humans. It means it should be easily accessible and in reach of the humans, able to reach within human limits. There should be not any such difficulty that it cannot be accessed or usable to humans. Fourth one, having economic and social value. Yes, it is also a very important point. Economic value means resources can be bought or sold, which in turn adds monetary value. For example, India is one of the largest exporter of mica in the world. Export of mica have been next only to those of iron ore and manganese. India being the largest producer of exporter of good quality mica in the world, nearly 70% of the world requirements of mica are met by India alone, which in turn increases the GDP of India also. The fifth one, should be cheap within pockets. It means it should be within the limit that one can extract it. If the cost of construction or the cost of extraction is too much, that is out of the pocket, is costing too much, then it is not of such any use to humans. Last one, match up with the new technology exactly. It should fulfill requirements of current technology. It doesn't matter we are having a very useful substance, but we are not able to meet up with the current technology and we are not able to access it, which in turn will not be useful for humans. So any substance or any resource, it should match up with the current technology also, then only we can term it as a useful resource. Now comes the classification of resources. Resources are broadly classified into three main types: on the basis of natural resources, on the basis of human made, and on the basis of human resources. Natural resources are further classified into four subtypes, that is, on the basis of origin, Abiotic on the basis of stage of development, that is your potential and actual resources. On the basis of renewability, renewable and non-renewable, which I think you must have heard in the and studied in previous classes also. And on the basis of distribution, that is ubiquitous and localized. Now let's see them one by one. First, we'll focus on what are natural resources. So, as the name suggests, natural, that means occurring naturally. So, what can be the definition for natural resources? Resources that occur naturally and support human life such as water, air, sunlight, without any action of humankind. These are called natural resources. See, I am saying here a line without any action of humankind. Why I am writing this line without any action of humankind? Because this water, air, sunlight, we haven't put any efforts for these. ऐसा तो कुछ नहीं होता कि हम गए थे सूर्य देवता के पास और बोले आओ सूर्य देवता हमको सूर्य की रोशनी दो, या जल देवता के पास गए आइए जल देवता हमको जल दीजिए. नो, all these things were actually present in nature. We haven't done any efforts for its existence. Yes, we have, with the development of technology, we have used it in a better way, but all these things were present naturally. So, once again, what can be the definition of natural resources? Resources that occur naturally and support human life, such as water, air, sunlight, without any action of humankind, are called as natural resources. They are used directly or by any process of technology. Natural resources comes from natural environment and are used without much modification. Example, soil, water, air, mineral, forest, etc. Now these natural resources, they are further classified on the basis of origin. Origin here means what? That from where they are derived. Whether they have been derived from any living source or whether they have been derived from any abiotic resource. That means the substance which will in future will be used as a resource, that was a living component or was that a non-living component. So this thing only, under the classification of resources, we say that on the basis of origin, resources are of two types, biotic and abiotic. Biotic means living things, plants and animals, and abiotic things mean non-living, soil, rocks, minerals, etc. Whenever somebody asks what is the meaning of biotic and abiotic, in simple words, you should understand just one thing. Biotic means living and abiotic means non-living. Now let's understand them one by one. Number first, biotic resources. As I told you, it means living. For your better understanding, if we split this biotic into bio and ic. So bio means life and ic means like. That means life like. These are those resources or components which are living and are obtained from biosphere. Now what is the meaning of biosphere? Biosphere means parts of Earth's surface and atmosphere in which plants and animals live. Biosphere comprises of atmosphere, that is air, hydrosphere, that is water, and lithosphere, that is earth. That means all the living things, as you can see in the diagram also. All biotic components consist of living and organic materials and are even capable of reproduction, that is to create a new living things. So we come to a conclusion that biotic resource has all living components, that is autotrophs, heterotrophs, plants, animals, fungi, bacteria, etc. are all the resource components. Autotrophs means the producers who are able to make their own food, and heterotrophs are the consumers who depend upon other organisms for nutrition. So these are the resource components of biotic resources. Now the second one, abiotic resources. In one word, abiotic means non-living. So what are abiotic resources? The term abiotic refers to non-living entities in the ecosystem. Example, soil, rock, minerals. That means all the non-living things, table, chair, wood, etc. are all such things will be considered under abiotic resources. All these things come from your biosphere only, that is which comprises of your lithosphere, atmosphere and hydrosphere. Now Next, let's come to the second mode of classification, that is on the basis of stage of development. Now, stage of development means that we know water, air, and many elements like uranium, etc., are present in nature. But how we are using it, to what extent we are using it, do we have that proper technology that we can use it in a proper and fruitful way? Such type of resources are classified under the stage of development classification. Now, under this, two types of resources come. The first one is potential resources, and the second one is actual resources. Now, let's understand them one by one. Actual resources are those resources which have been surveyed, their quality, quantity is determined, and are being used in present. That means those type of resources which we are using it presently are known as actual resources. Their quantity is known, their quality is known, and with the help of technology, we are getting its benefit in a present only. For example, coal, petroleum, water, etc. There is tremendous. About 71% of Earth's surface is water covered, and oceans hold about 96.5% of all Earth's water. By the proper use, if we actually use it in a proper way, so we can generate a large amount of hydroelectricity, although we are using it at present also. So, all such things which are present and presently we are taking benefits of it are known as what? Actual resources. Now, next is potential resources. These are those resources which are known to exist, have been located, but not being utilized or developed in present. To make best use of it, advanced technology is required. That means apart from the actual resources, potential resources are those which is having one thing in common, that they are also known, their quantity and quality is also known, but they are not being utilized properly presently, and it is expected that it can be used in future. For example, uranium in Ladakh. Uranium is a very important element because it provides us with nuclear fuel used to generate electricity in nuclear power station. Uranium is in terrains of Ladakh. Its quantity is known, but due to the lack of technology, it can't be accessed. Tidal, geothermal energy in most part of the world, they are present but still waiting to be tapped because there no such proper use of technology is still implemented. Another example, availability of mineral oil in major parts of India where sedimentary rocks are present, they can be used, but still, due to lack of technology, it cannot be accessed. One more example, installing solar power and wind power station in Rajasthan and Gujarat is another example of potential resource. There are such plants, but the way they can be properly used in a huge quantity, that is still not accessed. So all this was about potential resources. The basic difference between potential and actual resource is that potential resources are not being utilized properly because of lack of technology, and actual resources are being used in present. That's it. Potential resources mainly depends upon the availability of technology. If the proper implementation of technology can be done, potential resource can result in a fruitful way. Unlike the actual resources, where technology is present, because of technology only we are accessing it, but it also depends upon accessibility, cost of development, utilization, and market condition. That means how much this type of energy or thing is required in the present scenario in any part of the world. Now, next comes renewability. Renewable means endless, extendable, capable of being renewed, relating to a natural resource. On the basis of renewability, resources are of two types: renewable energy and non-renewable energy. These are some of the very basic forms of energy which you have read even in the junior classes also. Now let's see them one by one. Renewable energy, we all know it is that source of energy that can be renewed, it can be used repeatedly, it has endless limit and does not run out because it is naturally refilled on a human time scale. See, a very important line is written: refilled on a human time scale. What does it mean? Like solar energy, wind energy. It is not that if we are using such forms of such sources of natural energy in a very huge quantity. So, like we are on Monday, we are running all our appliances by solar and wind energy, and on Tuesday, this energy it will just went by. No, these are present in huge quantity in nature. So, what are renewable sources of energy? That energy which can be used repeatedly, can be renewed, are sources of clean, inexhaustible energy and does not produce greenhouse gases, that is, does not pollute the environment, are known as renewable sources of energy. For understanding in, if we split the word renewable into re and new, so re means again and new means naya, that means again and again. Okay, so now let's see the next form of energy, that is non-renewable energy. Such forms of energy which are present in a limited quantity and cannot be replenished with the speed at which it is consumed are known as non-renewable sources of energy. Once again, resources which are present in a limited quantity or say limited stock and cannot be replenished with the same speed at which it is consumed are known as non-renewable sources of energy. For example, like unlike in renewable sources of energy, like we are using solar and wind energy in a huge quantity, so they are being regenerated also at the same rate. But when it comes to non-renewable energy, if we take any example like oil, coal, natural gas, petroleum, etc., so at the rate at what we consume and at the rate it will be replenished is not the same. Like as per the estimation by the UN, by 2025 approximately 1.8 billion people will have no water to drink. By 2048 availability of coal will become very rare. By say 2050 to 55 oil won't be available at such rate at what it is present today. These non-renewable resources takes millions of years to be renewed. So once again, what will be the definition of non-renewable resources? All such resources which have a limited stock or quantity and are not able to get renewed and takes millions of years for its renewal are known as non-renewable resources. Example can be oil, coal, natural gas, petroleum, etc. If we see to a broad difference between renewable and non-renewable sources of energy, so we can say renewable sources of energy are those which can be used throughout. Non-renewable, they are used limitedly. Renewable, they are inexhaustible. Non-renewable, they are limited in stock. Renewable, they have the capacity to reproduce by natural process, that is able to renewed. But for non-renewable, it takes thousands and millions of years to be renewed if exhausted. And one of the very most important point is renewable sources of energy are clean sources of energy because of absence of pollutant, whereas non-renewable resources of energy include polluting agents like methane, carbon monoxide, nitrous oxide, etc. Now, as we know that renewable sources are that source of energy that can be renewed and will not end, but here also there is an exception. As you can see on the very bottom side of the page, it is written, renewable resource may also become a non-renewable resource if its use increases to such a point that it exceeds the ability of natural process to produce more of it. That means if any renewable resource also, the best example is water, if we will use it in a quantity more than it is needed, then it will also become a non-renewable resource. This will happen because of bad management and improper practices. For example, water is a renewable resource, but in many places it becomes non-renewable when demand and use for it increases beyond that it is present in nature. This will lead to loss of stock of water level below earth, and it will turn into a non-renewable resources. Now, next classification, that is on the basis of distribution. So on the basis of distribution, resources are classified into two types: ubiquitous resource and localized resources. Ubiquitous resources means resources that can be found everywhere. For example, air, wind, sunlight, etc. These are found in all places of earth, unlike localized resources. Local means at certain places only. So localized resources are those resources that are found in certain specific places only. For example, copper, iron ore. Now see, copper is not found in each and every part of the world like your air, wind and sunlight. No. Copper, they are found in some places. Some examples I am giving, like Utah, New Mexico, Chile. Chile is the largest producer of copper in the world, exporting 33% of copper. Iron ore, Australia, Brazil, China, India, etc., where Australia is the largest producer of iron ore, that is producing 660,000 tons of iron ore. And one more example can be iron ore and coal extracted from Chota Nagpur Plateau, India, used in iron steel plant, petroleum and natural gas from Mumbai Highfield. These are of India only. But I am giving this example because petroleum and natural gas. So it is not like that it is present in each and every state of Madhya Pradesh. Iron ore and coal, it is not necessary that it is present in each and every state of Madhya Pradesh. Oh, sorry, Madhya Pradesh, I am saying in each and every state of India. So this can be termed as localized resources. Once again, a quick glimpse: what are ubiquitous means resource that are found everywhere, and localized means that are found in certain or specific places of earth, country, region, etc. Now these localized resources, because they are found in certain specific places only, the factors on which it depend is terrain, climate and altitude. Terrain means area, Medan, climate, and altitude, that is height. These are the factors which decide the existence of localized resources. Now we move to the second classification of resources, that is human made resources. As the name suggests, here human involvement will be there. Sometimes natural substances becomes resources only when their original form has been changed. That means in the original form which they were present, when by the use of technology which will be naturally used by the humans only, it becomes into a better form of resource. Such types of resources are known as human made resources. Human made resources are also called capital resources. Why they are called capital resources? Because it provides profit to humans. Human made resources are called capital resources. They are material riches created by humans that can be used to create more and more wealth. For example, buildings, bridges, roads, machinery, factories, etc. Now see, all such things like factories, bridges, etc., the raw material which was needed for constructing or building it, that was present in nature. But human, with the proper use of technology, with the proper implementation of technology, converted this raw material into a very finished fine products. So these are human made resources. Since natural resources cannot always be utilized in their raw form but needs to be processed and changed from the original state, it is in this regard that human made or cultural resources assume very greater significance. Let's understand it by example. For example, iron ore. We know that iron ore is present in nature in abundance but in its raw form. Now, with the help of human made resources, that is technology, iron is extracted from iron ore in a huge container called blast furnace. As you can see in this diagram, this is a blast furnace from which iron is extracted from its ore. One more example is crude oil. Crude oil, it is basically a fossil fuel which is found beneath Earth's surface and is used as a fuel. For its extraction also, there is a proper process. When plants and animals died, they got buried beneath the surface of the earth, and the layers of sand and mud turned them into sedimentary rocks. Then the heat from the earth and the weight of rocks caused the dead plants and animals to compress into oil. Once the oil is formed, it slowly moves up through the pores in the rocks. As you can see in the diagram, for the extraction of the crude oil, it starts with drilling wells into an underground reservoir. A steel pipe is placed beneath from where oil passes through base and collection valves which are fitted at the top to maintain the pressure. Thus, oil is extracted from its natural source. All this setup is human-made technology. Thus, we can say that by the proper use of human-made technology, any raw material which is like an input can be used as a useful resource in terms of output by human. Now next comes the human resources. Human resources means human beings themselves. Now how human beings themselves? By human technique, knowledge, skill, ability, human beings can convert any resource into a very fruitful product. There is a relation between human made and human resources. See, human resources basically are the people who add utility to resources by adding value to it by their education, knowledge, skill, ability, which in output gives a better resource. Whereas human made resources are the substances of nature like coal, oil, natural gas, etc., that are converted into usable form after changing from the original form. Both human resources and human made resources are interlinked to each other, but the basic difference between both of them is that, as you can see at the bottom of the page also, human made means substances converted to usable form, and human resources mean which constitute the human themselves. Whenever we talk about human resources, a very important term always comes, that is human resource development, which play a very significant role in development of natural resources. Now what is this human resource development? It simply means people with their skills and abilities that turn them into a resource. Human resource is an ultimate resource. Healthy, educated and motivated people develop resources as per their requirements. Human resource is one of the building block of a nation's development as well as utilization of resources. Human resource development simply means improving the quality of people's skill so that they are able to create more resources in a better way, in an effective way, both in terms of quality and quantity, and also save them for future generations. This is only known as what? Human resource development, that is proper use and utilization of resources by humans in a better and effective way. Now we have understood what are resources, types of resources, how they are being utilized. Now comes a very important topic, conservation of resources. See, we are using resources in a very rapid manner, in a very fast manner. But are we looking for its conservation? Why its conservation is needed? What are the benefits of it? Why is it important to conserve the resources? So see, resources are important for development of any country. Example, for generation of electricity, we need fossil fuel. For industrial development, we need minerals, etc. That is why it is necessary to conserve resources for future generation, for the coming generation, and to save them from getting depleted. This sentence, which I am saying, that it is necessary to conserve the resources for future generation, this is known as what? Sustainable development. Resources needs to be used carefully And protecting resources for future generations by giving them time to get renewed by proper resource management is known as what? Conservation of resources. For conservation of resources, three things play a very important role. These three things are known as what? 3R. That is reduce, recycle, and reuse. These 3R have a very important significance in conservation of resources. Let's understand them one by one. The first one, reduce. This is the most effective component of waste hierarchy in reducing the waste created. Consumers should always think that they should reduce their waste by not purchasing in bulk and buying things which can be used. For example, if a work can be fulfilled by a small quantity, then we should not waste neither a money nor any resource by buying it in a bulk or in a larger quantity. The next one that comes is reuse. For example, let's understand this by an example. Like if we buy a water bottle, so once the water in the bottle gets finishes, instead of throwing it, we can refill a purchased bottle of water with water from home to minimize the number of plastic bottles being discarded. This will help in stopping of wastage of resources. Now, the last R, that is recycle. It is one of the most important and, like you can say, the lifeline of the 3 Rs. Recycling means converting waste materials into new products by changing them from their original form by physical and chemical process. The best example for this is plastic. Plastic, which we know is so much harmful for our environment, we can recycle it in a very useful manner. These days, with the development of technology, countries are using plastic roads. Now, unlike the concrete road, where we are using concrete for building up of roads, in the plastic roads are made entirely of plastic or of composite of plastics with other material. Countries like Australia, Indonesia, United Kingdom, United States, and even India are using plastic roads. In December 2019, India has built 21,000 miles of road using plastic waste. Till now, the country has almost 33,700 kilometers of plastic roadways. That means every 1 kilometer road uses 1 million plastic bags. So see how useful we, by reducing, reusing, and recycling, conserving the resources. This proper management is only known as what? Sustainable development. Development that meets the needs of present generation with conserving them from future is called sustainable development. And what are the three most important factors which play here an important role? Again, the 3 Rs, that is reduce, recycle, and reuse. So this was about conservation of resources. But we must also look onto the factors which are responsible for depletion of resources. As you can see in the diagram, various factors are given. Let's discuss them. The first and the very crucial factor is overpopulation. See, if there won't be a balance between the amount of resources which are available and the number of people which are present, then it is very common that the resources will be overused. Second, overconsumption. Overconsumption is related to overpopulation also, as well as individual also. Waste. We are wasting resources at tremendous quantity. Instead of reusing it, instead of recycling it, we simply throw it and we buy new products which are actually wasting the resources. Deforestation, cutting down of forests, destruction of ecosystem by malpractices like mining, erosion, pollution, slash and burn agriculture practice. Through such means, we are simply depleting our resources, because of which many resources are likely to exist. The very most common is water, coal, and oil. It is estimated by the UN that by 2025, 1.8 billion people will have no water to drink. By 2048, availability of coal will become very rare, and for oil, it will be available only for next 58.6 years. That means by 2050, Earth will have scarcity of huge resources. Thus, there is a need for conservation of resources. We should conserve our resources. We should conserve our biodiversity. Why? Because biodiversity refers to all variety of living organisms. The best example for this is the Amazon forest. It represents the richest ecosystem on earth and it shelters about 10% of the world's biodiversity. We all know that resources are important for any country's development from capital point of view, from development point of view. And if we use it in a more way from what it is needed, then it will take millions of years for its formation. Apart from that, they are limited, they maintain the ecological balance, they stop the greenhouse gases, we need to preserve the biodiversity, and also to make available for future generation, it is very important to conserve the natural resources. People must look for alternatives to sources that are becoming scarce, for example, for energy production, instead of relying on and using coal, oil, and other fossils. We can use the natural sources like solar energy, wind energy, biomass energy, geothermal energy. One more example can be aluminium may be used in place of copper for many purposes. While copper is scarce, deposits of bauxite and clay contain more aluminium than people can use, so this can be a substitute. Second, growth of the world population must be controlled to allow for a better quality of life and sustainable management. If the population will be more, then resource will be wasted and will be used more than what they are available. Then we should avoid disastrous changes in our ecosystem. We should try to increase our agriculture land. Then the greenhouse gases. Fumes from automobiles and smoke from factories poisons the air. This kills trees and endangers human health. Government regulation can control this damage. We should adopt proper waste management techniques. Thus, by the successful management of resources, we can maintain and enhance the quality of environment as well as resources. Some steps to conserve resources. The first one is reforestation, that is, planting more and more trees instead of doing deforestation. Then comes the terrace farming. A terrace is a piece of slope plain that is cut into series of successively receding platforms like terrace that resemble steps. This prevents rain from washing away soil, hence preventing soil erosion. So this also can become under conservation of resources. Next comes rainwater harvesting. By collection and storage of rain rather than allowing it to run off, rainwater is collected from a roof-like surface and redirected to a tank, thus conserving the rainwater. Then comes flora, that means plants. It helps to prevent the flow of water and makes it sink into the soil, increasing the groundwater levels. Then comes green technology. Promoting green technology like solar panel, wind energy, geothermal energy, hydroelectric dams are all examples of green technology because they are safer for environment and don't produce fossil fuel waste by products. Beside the environmental benefits, they are alternative sources of energy also. We should also stop things which damage the ecosystem like deforestation, mining, soil erosion, overpopulation, etc., which basically deplete our resources and should focus on adopting proper waste management techniques. Government action should be taken against carbon emissions. Certain policies, guidelines, frameworks should be made so that our resources can be conserved in a very efficient manner. Green technology should be extended. Like 4 days ago only, that is on 10th of July, Asia's largest solar power plant was inaugurated in Rewa. The 750 megawatt Rewa solar plant in Madhya Pradesh was dedicated to the nation by Prime Minister on July 10. This plant consists of 3 solar power generating units that are located on a 500 hectare plot of land and generates 750 megawatt of power. Very nice. Such implementations must be done to conserve resources. Another such initiative is an Earth Hour. Earth Hour here basically began on 31st March 2007, and it was decided that every year between 8:30 to 9:30, that is for 1 hour, lights will be turned off as a symbol of commitment of energy saving to the planet. This was initiated by WWF, no, not World Wrestling Federation, but by Worldwide Fund for Nature. This year it took place on March 28. Next year it will take place on March 27, 2021. So with this we come to an end of this chapter. Thank you.